Hey, good morning, y'all. Shit, I'm starting no shit. Listen. Listen. Sometimes, look at her. Look, hold on. What's up, Oni? What you doing? What you doing? Say what's up to the peoples. Say what's up to the peoples. Say what's up to the peoples, huh? That's Leona. Listen, oftentimes when you're speaking and you talking about these scripts that's inside of you that helped you to understand certain things, you see. And sometimes when you pull them out, you know what I'm saying, you get these personal strength pockets. You see what I'm saying? That's what I call them, strength pockets. Most people call them emotions and things like that. You see what I'm saying? It's the fifth in motion. You see, people don't like that. They don't like no emotions and shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming from a man. You see, oftentimes when you have these things and things didn't work out in your world and you start talking about them, sometimes people not hearing that through these experiences you learned, you understood. You see, because it was only you really didn't have no choice. You see, you weren't affected by other minds. You see, but this is how you was created. You see what I'm saying? See, your mother and your father, they have two poles, two sides of the brain. You see, two sides of the brain. You understand me? You see? Now, one may say, what part of, what side of the brain, was prominent in you from your mother? What side of the brain was more prominent in you from your father? You see? When you're developing and going through these experiences, you see, fleeing from what people call excuses, you see, you got to learn because something wasn't right. Your heart was in something, but you didn't have the tools. Why didn't you have the tools? And you had an educated father. You had an educated mother. Why? What happened? How come you don't have these tools? You see? And so, as time goes on, you start understanding. You see? You start understanding that what you had, what you was working with throughout your youth, you was working with the right side of your father. You see? You was working with your creativities. You see, you was developing things that was natural for you. You see, that was more prominent. You see, whatever my father wanted to be in that world, that's exactly how I was trying to push out of me because I felt like it was a natural thing. That's the right side of my father. You see, hit that hemisphere. Now, my mother, this is the left side of her brain. I'm dealing with the left side of her brain. You see? Now, this is a female. I'm looking at a female. This is my mother, but I'm looking at a female. I'm hearing my mother. You see? I love her fire. I love my mother. My mother has swag. You know what I'm saying? I love the way she talk. I love the way she express herself in certain ways. I love the way she'll create a puzzle, you see, for you and make you think that you're nothing. You see? All the while, she put it in you to where it'll make you figure out what she said. And then you come back to her, she just smile at you. Don't say shit, she just smile at you because she knew exactly what she was doing. You see? This logical, analytical side of the brain, of that hemisphere of my mother. You see? These two things, what most people would call a cross. It was laid out different. This bonded quasar that I came through. You see? I'm trying to figure these things out. You see? Because my father he knew what to do out here. But my mother knew what to do out here also. But the world that my mother grew up in, that was the world that I was living in. You see, some of the things that my father was trying to tell me, it didn't fit. Even though he was correct, it just didn't fit my lifestyle. It didn't fit, you know what I'm saying? It didn't fit where I was at. You see? So how did I handle these things? You see, I didn't handle it. I didn't understand it. But I grew to learn it. But even though I learned it, it still didn't work out because it wasn't in me yet. You see, I had to wait until the year 2000. You see, this is when my second wife kicked me out the house during that period of time. I was 33 years old. You see, up in the projects, Iroquois projects, Cayuga Ave. You see, we're always around indigenous names. You see, so what happened? You know what happened to this being they call Jay? What happened to him? You see, out of all these things, you see, that I talk about, and I share with certain people, they talk to me and they start talking about excuses, how the excuses was first, and you want to talk to them, you want them to say something to you, like, talk to me about what you're talking about, because you're talking to them, but everything that you're saying to them or sound like excuses. And they were right. You see, they were right in what they were talking about. You see? And I couldn't prove them wrong. I just had to tell them about my trail. But like my father, this Virgo, there was no patience. They couldn't hear these things, these stumbling blocks. You see, they couldn't hear these walls, you see, that you had to go through. They didn't hear these things. They were just listening to you at this present time. The outcome. You see, the outcome, the aftermath of all this shit that you're talking about. You see, what they're seeing is real. You see, you in the light. You see, but your experiences, you were naked as a motherfucker. You was naked. Nobody want to hear that shit. Nobody want to hear all those goddamn excuses. Cover yourself. You see, cover yourself with manhood. Cover yourself. You see? And so you understanding these things. You understanding these things. You see, you have a tree over here, then you have a tree over here. But this tree right here is split. It has two books. One say good and the other says evil. So you're like, God damn, that's an interesting book right there to read. Nah, I'm not going to read it because I already got them. I got 4 wings. You see, the 2 hemispheres of my parents. So I want to study that because I know that how my heart feels. I know these things. Why am I doing this? How come I'm feeling like people feel on the outside of me that ain't seeing me doing shit? I'm feeling just like them. But so for some reason, I'm pulled to go through these things. You see? So where was my father? Where was these analytics? They weren't there. But the analytics from my mother was there. And I couldn't pull that in. You see, I couldn't pull that in because it didn't match. It didn't match me. You see, it didn't match me. So I'm out here trying to find these things and none of this shit, nothing happened. I'm just living. You see, I'm going to broadcasting school. I did a little bit of that, you see. But I did finish in part. But when my father heard my segments, He took my whole reel and put some Al Green on it, some Isaac Hayes on it. You see? He taped over it. And see, and that was my resume to give to 107.7 KMEL in Oakland, California. You see, I had an appointment there. I was going to be an intern at the radio station. You see, this is the right side of my father. You see, these things are the right side of my father. You see, but what I needed his measurements. It was his left side of the brain. You see, I needed his measurements. I saw his carpentry. I used to love putting his his belt, his carpentry belt around me when I was younger. You see, I used to put on his hard hat. I used to smell it. I used to smell my father's. I used to smell my mother's house shoes too. I wanted the scent of these two beings that I came through. You see, I know I came through somebody. You see, but all these things I had to discover on my own by myself. You see, they say, you're not a man. You're not a man. But then when you start learning and understanding why they say that, you see, you start agreeing with them. And so you try your best to make up certain things. But there's no use, because the world, as time went on, the world became wicked, more wicked, more wicked, more wicked. You see what I'm saying? Everybody is going in reverse. The psychology of the people don't give a fuck. You see what I'm saying? So all the things that you didn't do, and then you're looking out into the world and you're saying, God damn, but there's still men out there. You see, real men that got this structure down pat and fell into their discipline to do what they have to do for those that came after them. You see, all these things, you see, but I was too busy to even talk to them, or the stench that was on me. You see, they didn't want to be around me. You see, but what did I have to give? What did I have to give to people? You see, what I had to give was a Torah that was written inside of me. You see, that I had to learn on my own. I had to go through all this pain, all this bullshit, you see? And when I was talking about this child support, the brother called me the other day and told me, man, saying, get them little kids, man. I said, man, my kids are grown. I said, I'm talking about past shit, you see? I'm talking about past shit, you see? That's affecting me today in this present time, you see? He was like, oh, damn. Yeah, you see? But sometimes, if you don't, you can listen to people. If you don't ask, you see, because that's naked shit. That's unseen shit. You see, that's unseen shit. But when you're talking about it in the light, it's called excuses. You see, nobody don't want to hear, to see, put some clothes on before you talk, nigga. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes you got to do these things because there's somebody out there listening to you. I got to go. I'm going to get back with this because it's a deep understanding, man. And, there's brothers out here don't want to say nothing, but their heart is still just made of gold, but they're just hard for them to talk about it because they don't want to feel shamed. You see, they don't want to feel regret. God damn it, you're going to look, hold on to that's what it is. But God damn it, you tell the truth. Tell the truth, however it may be. Get that shit up off you so you can live. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to get back to y'all. Yeah.